What is up, all my movie people out there? Welcome back to Mike and Juju's Movie Corner, y'all. I am your boy and your host, Mike.
And I'm your co-host, Juju. We're back with another episode of Movie Corner.
Hey, today we're revisiting a film that we've both been meaning to cover since day one of this show, Adventures in Babysitting. Chris Columbus's 1987 directorial debut, y'all.
Man, 87. I was, 8? You were 9?
Yeah.
Wow, to think this movie's been with us for almost 4 decades.
You ain't gotta remind me. I mean, my back hurts enough as it is. But, Babysitting, Elizabeth Shue at her most charming. Running around Chicago with some kids. I mean, simple premise, perfect execution.
For the people listening who haven't seen it, and seriously, what have you been doing with your lives? The setup is pretty straightforward. Shue plays Chris Parker, a suburban teenager who gets stood up for a date and ends up babysitting instead.
Yeah, and then her friend Brenda, played by Penelope Ann Miller, calls from the bus station downtown, stranded with no cash. So what's Chris do? She packs up the kids she's watching and jumps into the station wagon, and chaos ensues.
That's putting it mildly. Car trouble, chop shops, blues clubs, gang fights, skyscrapers.
Yeah.
It's basically the Odyssey, but with more feathered hair.
Hey, I've never thought about it that way. But you're not wrong. I mean, Chris Parker in this is basically suburban Odyssey. Alright, so we were chatting before we started recording, Juju, about the first time we both watched this. Now me, it was late night when my parents thought I was sleeping. I watched it on HBO.
Classic 80s parenting. For me, it was a sleepover at my cousin's house. They had the VHS. That's right, y'all. The sacred VHS passed down from cool family members everywhere.
Right? Hell yeah. I mean, think about it. Kids today don't have the experience. I mean, that forbidden movie that makes its rounds, that you only get to see in fragments usually until you finally get to piece the whole damn thing together.
Truth. Kids can pull up anything on streaming any time. They'll never know the thrill of finally catching a movie you've been dying to see because HBO was having a free weekend.
Right, that's deep. Alright, before we really dive in, should we do a quick rundown of what me and you partook on before we started filming?
Oh yeah, tonight we had some Now We Wowie.
That's right, y'all. Old fashioned, keeping it classic.
Speaking of classic, this movie holds up remarkably well for something approaching 40.
I mean, that's younger than we are, and it's way better than we do, for sure.
Alright, so let's talk about what makes this movie work so damn well. For me, it's a perfect balance of genuine danger and comedy.
Absolutely, Juju. Like, movies now, especially the ones aimed at teens and families, they really strip everything down and sanitize it almost. Or they try way too fucking hard to be edgy or over the top.
This hits that sweet spot where the stakes feel real, but you're still having fun.
Right.
Like when they're in a chop shop, there's a real sense that these kids could be in actual danger.
Hey, get in the car.
Get in the car. Joe Gitman, Calvin Levels played that role perfectly.
I mean, he really did, y'all. And that's something we should talk about. Now, this cast is ridiculous when you look back at it. Elizabeth Shue, obviously. Anthony Rapp before Rent and Star Trek. Vincent D'Onofrio as Thor. I mean, that was the same year he did Full Metal Jacket.
That's still wild to me. Dude went from playing a psychologically broken Marine to a Norse god mechanic. Range, y'all.
Yeah, and he's completely unrecognizable in the two roles. Like, that's commitment to her craft, y'all.
For real. Let's talk about Elizabeth Shue, though. She carries this movie in a way that I don't think I fully appreciated as a kid.
Yeah, you're right. She's really doing some subtle work here. She's playing this character who's trying to be responsible and an adult, but you never forget that she's basically still a kid herself.
And she sells both the comedy and the more emotional beats. Like that moment with Sarah, where she talks about how sometimes we all feel like Thor.
Sometimes we're strong, sometimes we're not. I mean, yeah, that is different at 47. I know that.
Doesn't it, though? That's the thing about revisiting these movies. You pick up on completely different layers.
Man, yeah, when I was a kid, I was all about adventure and danger. And now I sit back and I'm thinking, what college does Chris get into? Like, does she get a good scholarship? Like, what happens?
Did she establish a solid 401k early? Is she taking advantage of compound interest? The concerns of middle age.
Right. Speaking of which, can we talk about these parents in this movie? Now, they go out for the night, totally oblivious to the fact that their children almost get unalived multiple times.
Man, classic 80 movies parents. How was your night? Fine. Great. See you in the morning.
Hey, I know, like, me with my kids, I was like always like Law and Order and like interrogate whoever was watching them, because like, did you let them get away with stuff? Were they asleep the whole time? Are you sure? Did you check their pulses? Like, these kids are tricky.
Though to be fair, your kids never had an escape from car thieves or singing a blues club that you know of.
Right. Alright, let's break down some key scenes, y'all. You just said it. The Blues Club, still the high point of the movie for me.
100%. Nobody leaves a club without singing the blues. Perfect setup, perfect payoff.
Yeah, and they really go for it too. I mean, the whole sequence is gold, y'all. It starts off with them being a little panicked to them having to perform in front of this whole group of people.
Elizabeth Shue sells it completely. She's scared, but also somehow rises to the occasion. That's the through line of the whole movie. Ordinary people finding their extraordinary through different extraordinary situations.
Right. That was really well put, Juju. Alright. It's why the movie resonates, y'all. We all want to believe that we would rise to the occasion if we were in that situation taking care of some kids and it suddenly turned into an action.
Speak for yourself. At my age, I'd be calling Uber and getting home at the first sign of trouble.
Fair enough. I did throw my back out taking the trash out recently. Alright, so we're definitely not chasing any car thieves across skyscrapers. I get it.
We're a long way from that, our glory days, bro.
Alright, you know what scene I really appreciate? The fraternity party. You've got Brad, who sees what he thinks is his Playboy model and instantly falls in love with her. And then she just casually, like, I'm just a babysitter, but he's not buying it.
It's so perfect and creepy in retrospect. But the movie knows it's creepy, which makes it work.
Yeah, like her boyfriend was really creepy. And he looked like he was 30. Alright. It's not celebrating the objectification. It's really showing how awkward and ridiculous teenage hormone shit is. I mean, if you introduce a stolen nudie mag in the first act, it kind of has to go off in the third.
And timeless rules of dramatic structure.
Right? Alright, can we talk about how well paced this movie is? Now, this is a tight 102 minutes, y'all. There's no fat on it at all.
That's the thing about those 80s movies. They didn't feel the need to be 3-hour epics. They told their story and got out.
Unlike us sometimes on this show.
Hey, our listeners know what they signed up for.
Right.
Two middle-aged guys rambling about movies they've seen 100 times.
Definitely. But it seems to be doing good. We appreciate everyone. Alright. So,
what doesn't hold up about this movie? Because we're being pretty effusive here.
I mean, yeah, there is some racial elements. They're pretty dated. The portrayal of inner city Chicago, I mean, come on, it's filtered through a suburban white lens.
Yeah, the gang stuff in particular feels like it was written by someone whose entire knowledge of urban gangs came from watching the Warriors a bunch of times.
Warriors, come out and play. Alright. Hey, that was really accurate. For its time, the movie movie is actually pretty progressive in a lot of ways, though. Joe Gibb, the car thief, played greatly. He's portrayed as complex and ultimately heroic.
True, and Chris, for a female protagonist in the 80s, gets to be both vulnerable and badass. She's not just a final girl or a love interest.
Right. I mean, it's kind of a complicated thing looking back at these movies. Like, they're products of their time, but the good ones still have some genuine life to give.
And this is definitely one of those good ones. I showed it to my nieces and nephews a few years ago, and they actually didn't hate it, which is basically a 5-star review from teenagers.
Right? High praise indeed. I feel like kids nowadays would be like, why didn't they just use their phone? You know what I mean?
Yeah. The eternal question of showing pre-internet movies to Gen Z, why don't they just Google it?
Why don't they just call an Uber?
One thing I really appreciate about this movie is the Chicago setting. It feels like a real place, not just a generic city.
Right, totally, Juju. Columbus actually shoots the city in a way that showcases its personality. I mean, you've got the skyline, the L train, those concrete canyons downtown.
And it's not just the pretty parts. You get the industrial areas, the highways, the bus station. Mm-hmm. It feels lived in.
Yeah, that's Chris Columbus for you guys, though. In his first feature, this guy already had a knack for creating a sense of place. He really did the same thing with New York in Home Alone 2 and with London in the early Potter films.
Let's talk about soundtrack for a minute. This movie's got some serious needle drops.
Yeah, like Then You Kiss Me by the Crystals. Perfect tone setter.
That whole getting ready sequence tells you everything you need to know about Chris in like 2 minutes. No dialogue needed.
Yeah. 25 Miles by Edwin Starr during the highway scene. Give Me Shelter by the Rolling Stones. And hits like Just Can't Stop. I mean, this is a solid mix, y'all.
Plus that original Babysitting blues song, which is legitimately catchy.
It really gets stuck in your head, don't it?
It's stuck, or I'll be singing it for a week.
Babysitter. Alright, we're about halfway through our episode. Should we do a what if segment, Juju?
Let's do it. So, what's your hypothetical for Adventures in Babysitting?
Alright, y'all. What if Adventures in Babysitting was made today, but here's the twist in it all. It's still set in 1987. Kind of like a period piece about babysitting in the 80s.
That's actually intriguing.
Thank you.
So it would be like Stranger Things, but without the supernatural elements.
Right. You have all that 80s nostalgia, but you also have modern filmmaking techniques and sensibilities.
I think it could work. It would probably lean harder into the nostalgic elements, the fashion, the music, the whole dangerous city vibe of the 80s Chicago.
Yeah, and they'd probably cast some 25-year-old TikTok influencer as Chris.
Probably, but done right. I'll watch that.
I mean, I would too. Let's be honest. All right, Juju, what is your what if?
What if Adventures in Babysitting was actually part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Well, how would that work?
Bear with me. Vincent D'Onofrio's character isn't just a mechanic who looks like Thor. He is Thor.
Okay.
Banished to Earth long before the events of the first Thor movie.
Okay. But that kind of throws off that movie, but I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm a little intrigued. Go ahead, Juju.
So he's Thor, living in exile in Chicago. Those chop shop guys, they're actually Hydra agents. And Sarah's obsession with Thor isn't just a coinky dinky. She has Latin psychic abilities that allow her to recognize him.
Okay. So therefore, Chris Parker grows up to be who? I mean, Agent Coulson's supervisor, maybe?
Better, she becomes a high-ranking S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, who later mentors Kate Bishop, and Brad becomes Hawkeye's archery coach.
Alright, this is the most ridiculous shit. And I'm completely here for it though, Juju. Marvel, hit us up. We've got some ideas.
We'll be waiting by the phone.
Definitely. Alright, so we've talked about what we love about this movie. Was dated, the cast, and that incredible soundtrack. But I still feel like we're missing something, Juju.
Maybe the legacy, like how it influenced other movies.
Good call. I mean, it did definitely help establish that one crazy night genre that we saw more of in the late 80s and 90s.
Right. Movies like License to Drive, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, even something like Go or Dazed and Confused had similar DNA.
Yeah, and it really helped establish Columbus as director, who could handle young actors and blend comedy with genuine emotion.
You know what strikes me about this movie now that I'm older? How young everyone is. Elizabeth Shue was only about 23 when they shot this.
And now we're old enough to be her parents in the movie.
Oh, speak for yourself. I'm aging like fine wine.
Yeah, that wine's a little dusty. But you're right. There is something poignant about watching it now. Like all these kids with their whole lives ahead of them.
And they're worried about such specific things. Will Chris get in trouble with the Andersons? Will Brad ever get a girl to notice him? Will Sarah get to meet Thor?
Right? I mean, the stakes feel really high when you're young, guys. Everything can feel like life or death.
That's what the movie captures so well. That teenage feelings where everything is the most important thing ever.
Alright, we should probably wrap this up. But, ratings time.
Sure. Our rating system is based on how many times we rewatched the movie on a cross-country road trip before we'd rather just sit in silence.
Alright, for Adventures in Babysitting, I'm giving it a solid 8 out of 10 rewatches. I mean, it's not flawless, but the flaws it has are part of its charm, guys.
I'll go 8.5. It's one of those movies that if I catch it on cable while channel surfing, I'm watching it to the end, no matter what point it's on.
Yeah, that's really the ultimate compliment for a movie that's 40 years old.
Indeed. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, Adventures in Babysitting represents a kind of filmmaking that is really increasingly rare. You've got straightforward storytelling with real stakes, genuine laughs, and a lot of heart.
A lot of heart. And it reminds us of a time when getting lost in the city was actually scary. When you couldn't just pull up Google Maps or call an Uber.
When babysitting was one of the few ways teens could make money, and parents, they just left. No nanny cams, no constant texting, probably not even a phone call. Call us at the restaurant if something's wrong.
A simpler time.
For better or worse. Alright, that's all the time we have for this week's episode of Mike and Juju's Movie Corner. Mike and Juju Smoke Room, guys. And next week, we'll be tackling
another 80s classic that somehow never gets old, unlike us.
Speak for yourself. Alright, I'm in my prime, y'all.
Sure you are. And remember, folks,
don't mess with the babysitter, y'all. Alright, guys, as always, y'all come back and watch more shows. We love you all. I'm your boy and your host, Mike.
I'm your co-host, Juju.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.